There are mosquitoes in your yard right now, possibly several hundred. And this summer, like every summer before it, you will spend money on aerosol cans, electric plug-in vaporizers, DEET-soaked wristbands, fogger cartridges, and professional spray services to deal with an insect that a civilization dead for 2,500 years had already solved. Completely. Using something that costs $2 grows back every year, and the moment you learn what it is, you will never buy a spray can again. The global mosquito repellent market was valued at approximately $7.8 billion in 2023 and is projected to reach $13.4 billion by 2033. $13 billion. Built entirely on the suppression of a single piece of botanical knowledge that has been sitting in ancient Persian and Chinese texts since 400 BC, available to anyone willing to look. I'm going to show you exactly what it is, exactly why it works at the neurological level, and exactly how to deploy it around your property this weekend. But first, you need to understand what they replaced it with, and why, because that story is the reason most people have never heard of this. Welcome to Practical Secrets. Subscribe if this knowledge matters to you. To understand how old this solution is, you need to go back further than the pesticide aisle, further than the chemical industry, further than the Industrial Revolution entirely. Ancient Persian records document the use of a specific flowering plant as a precise insect-killing agent from around 400 BC. The ancient Chinese independently cataloged the same plant's dried and powdered flowers as a functional insecticide in a pharmacopoeia published around AD 100. A pharmacopoeia, not a farmer's note, not folklore, a formal medicinal compendium, treating this flower as a documented pharmaceutical tool nearly 2,000 years ago. It crossed into Europe through trade. Napoleon used insect powder made from this plant's flowers to control flea and lice infestations on French soldiers during his campaigns. By the 1880s, it had reached Japan. A grower in Wakayama promoted the flowers for lice control, and his wife, inspired by the plant's effectiveness, conceptualized what became the mosquito coil, one of the most globally used tools against mosquitoes ever produced. A mosquito coil, something people still burn on porches today, invented in the 1880s from this exact plant. And the science behind why it works is not vague. It is not the smell keeps bugs away. The active compounds inside this flower attack the insect nervous system with surgical precision. They delay the closure of voltage-gated sodium channels in nerve cells, resulting in repeated and extended nerve firings. Hyperexcitation that causes death through loss of motor coordination and paralysis. The mosquito does not gradually weaken. Its own nervous system fires until it collapses. And then, this is the critical part, the compound dissolves. In the presence of sunlight, it breaks down rapidly. Half-lives are under 12 hours in water and on soil surfaces. On leaf surfaces, less than 3% remained after 5 days. It kills with precision, and then it disappears. No accumulation, no residue, no long-term trace in your soil, your garden, or your children's bloodstream. You now know the mechanism. You do not yet know the plant. That comes after you understand why it was buried, because that context is what makes the name mean something. Stay right here. The next section is where this story stops being about a flower and starts being about one of the most profitable substitution schemes in modern consumer history. What replaced this plant, and the research that followed, is something every parent and every homeowner needs to see. In 1944, the United States Army had a problem. Jungle warfare in the Pacific had exposed soldiers to mosquito-borne disease at catastrophic scale, and the military needed a fast, synthetic, stable chemical solution. DET was developed by Samuel Gertler of the United States Department of Agriculture for use by the U.S. Army, following its experience of jungle warfare during World War II. It entered military use in 1946 and civilian use in 1957. It was a wartime emergency measure. Then the patent holders handed it to the civilian market, branded it, bottled it, and made it the default solution for every suburban backyard in America for the next 70 years. The research that followed is not reassuring. DEET has been found to be toxic to the central nervous system. Researchers state that more investigations are urgently needed to confirm or dismiss its potential neurotoxicity to humans, especially when DEET-based repellents are used in combination with other neurotoxic insecticides. A peer-reviewed study published in BMC Biology found that DET is not simply a behavior-modifying chemical. It also inhibits cholinesterase activity in both insect and mammalian neuronal preparations, and has the capacity to strengthen the toxicity of carbamates, a class of insecticides known to block acetylcholinesterase. For children specifically, data from a reviewed case analysis suggest that repellents containing DET are not safe when applied to children's skin and should be avoided in children. Seizures were the most prominent symptom, reported in 72% of cases of DET-induced encephalopathy. This is the product that replaced the plant. Why? Because you cannot patent a flower, you cannot trademark a daisy, you cannot send a quarterly invoice to someone who grows a $2 perennial in their garden bed. The ancient plant compound was already known. already documented, already working. But it belonged to no one, which meant no one could profit from it exclusively. Synthetic derivatives engineered from its blueprint became the second most commonly used class of insecticides in the world, stripped of their rapid biodegradation, made more persistent, and sold at industrial scale. They took the flower's chemistry, removed the part that made it safe, and sold you the version that lasts. If you have made it this far, you already understand more about the mosquito repellent industry than most of the people buying it. The plant is Chrysanthemum cinerariifolium, the Dalmatian chrysanthemum. It looks like a white daisy with a yellow center. It is sold at most garden centers under the common name Pyrethrum daisy. The compound inside it is called Pyrethrin, and the Chief Agriculture Officer of Nakuru County, Kenya, calls it the most important insecticide in the world. Kenya, incidentally, is the world's largest commercial producer of it. The plant grows in altitude and well-drained soil, and it grows back every single year. Here is exactly what you do this weekend. Step 1. Source the correct species. The species is Chrysanthemum cinerariifolium, also listed as Tanacetum cinerariifolium. Most garden centers and online seed vendors carry it for $1.50 to $3 per plant. Plant it in full sun in well-drained soil around your outdoor perimeter, near doorways, and along fence lines. The living plant alone releases volatile deterrent compounds continuously. Step 2. Harvest at peak potency. The active compounds are concentrated in the seed cases at the flower's center. Harvest, when flowers are fully open, this is peak pyrethrin concentration. Cut stems in the morning and dry flat in direct sun for 2 to 3 days. Step 3. Make the extract. Grind the dried flower heads into a fine powder using a coffee grinder kept for this purpose. To create a liquid spray, steep 2 tablespoons of ground powder in 1 cup of 70% isopropyl alcohol overnight. Then strain through cheesecloth and dilute with water at 1 part solution to 10 parts water. Fill a standard garden spray bottle. Step 4. Apply strategically. Spray perimeter vegetation, fence lines, patio edges, and any standing water areas at dusk. Because pyrethrins degrade rapidly in sunlight, they usually disappear from the garden within 24 hours, meaning reapplication every few days during peak season, but zero chemical buildup in your soil or water table. Step 5. Combine for maximum effect. Even tiny doses that mosquitoes barely seem to notice when compounds occur alone can send insects flying or crawling away when they occur in combination. The living plant border, plus the spray extract, creates overlapping zones of deterrence and contact kill simultaneously. A homeowner in coastal Georgia named Marlene Treadwell replaced her 340 per season professional mosquito spray contract with 8 pyrethrum plants along her back fence and a homemade extract she applies twice weekly. 2 summers later, she's not renewed the service. Her garden center bill was $14. What cannot be billed by the bottle will always be buried by those who sell bottles. The Persians documented this flower in 400 BC. Napoleon used it on his soldiers. A Japanese woman invented the mosquito coil from it in the 1880s. And somewhere between then and now, the industry handed you a synthetic neurotoxin instead and called it progress. The next vault opens soon. What is inside is older than this. And it does not target what bites you outside. It targets what is already living inside your walls, invisible and multiplying right now. Stay close.